it can be tempting to live your life as a prelude, as a prequel, to think that you're setting up a grander narrative, that your path would soon follow course. Once I lose weight and become fit, once I graduate from university, find the real job for me. Fancy car, fancy house. Once I find the perfect romantic partner, once. Then, and only then, will I begin to live. And every prior action leading up to that critical junction is a faint reflection of living, a half-lived life. A preliminary and unimportant segment, an introduction I can skip, I can cut. Members of the audience, friends, colleagues, I ask you to reflect about this and imagine an instance of your life where this picture resonates with you. My name is Saman. I'm a fourth-year medical student at McGill University, and typical to the tradition of medical schools, we interview at our respective possible programs of choice. It's a very grueling process, and there's a lot of questions that are asked. And one of the common motifs in the interview that I did was about my greatest weakness. What was it? How did I relate to it? This talk that you see is an unpacking of that concept, and I'm here to share with you that moment of epiphany and see how you relate to that itself. The destination fallacy, as I describe it, is a cognitive and psychological phenomenon. It has entrenched us at various aspects of our life. We believe that we should aspire to an abstract land, the future. Our dreams, fulfillments, everything lies there. And within that land, we should embody it. We should try to embrace and forget about our first-person human existence. It is a constant loop, infinity to infinity, like hamsters on a wheel, running around and around. Hurry, you will be late. And you can never rest in this constant state of motion, in which our strivings continue, but do not lead to lasting contentment. The world I'm describing to you is one where we all inhabit, consciously or unconsciously, day by day, night by night. Now, it's also important to think about the reasons why something exists. The excess of expectations is a defining feature of the modern 21st century. We want to go on a vacation. We want it to be romantic, exotic, effortless. We want our technology to be cutting edge, affordable, user-friendly. Social media, we want it to be entertaining, adventurous, validating. And as you can see with these examples, our demands far exceed the reality of what there is. Second to that is a perpetual state of hurry. We want to read the 10-minute Reader's Digest to Tolstoy's War and Peace, but not the full novel. I want to know how I can lose my love handles in 3 weeks, not 4 weeks, but in 3 weeks. 5 steps to getting rich and fast. The best way to ace your TED Talk in 5 minutes, watch the video, we'll figure it out. So we forget something very important here, that from point A to point B, it is not a linear course, that life itself has an organic unity. And that is so fundamental to the experiences we have to shape and form, that patience is not just a virtue, it's a necessity for being alive. Now, it's also important to contextualize further as to why this matters to me. In a matter of months, I'll have an MD beside my name. But more importantly, there is a growing sense of responsibility on the weight of my shoulders, that people will look at me with eyes of hope during moments of vulnerability. And you become responsible for people during these times. When they trust you and they take a leap of faith, it is a privilege to be in. Medicine, like many other professions, requires stamina, sacrifice, determination. As our hair is gray, our clinical knowledge expands. Our intuition crystallizes. And as we do this, we realize that we embrace and trade our life for the art of healing. This slide over here is an anatomy of a dream. I've always been fascinated by the brain, by this 3-pound of gummy jelly in between my eyes that can compute ideas of infinity, that it can provide me with a sense of self. And I believe that a life dedicated to that is my greatest essence, is my calling. But it's also very important to realize as you look at this slide that it's very easy and tempting to think of all the next steps that await me. Easily 16, 20 years of my life at the very least. And it's so tempting, isn't it, to think that once I reach my goal of being a neurosurgeon and a scientist, that then I've made it. What a loss. And what a marvelous realization for me to realize that this is a malady that embraces my existence. Now, it's also important to talk about why the destination fallacy is dangerous. When you chase over illusions and you think of prospects and goals, new ones emerge. Your sense of fulfillment is short-lived. Other ones pop up. You keep chasing them, like a mirage. We think that this is a road to reality, but it is only a myth of arrival. There's another reason, too. The Japanese novelist Haruki Murakami writes beautifully. He says, I used to think the years would go by in order, that you get older 1 year at a time. But it's not like that. It happens overnight. And many times I looked at myself in the mirror, and I no longer was an 18-year-old teenager. I was a grown-up adult with responsibilities, with the demands of life itself. And I asked myself, where did my time go? It had been blurred between deadlines, achievements, failures, and many other things. But I could not localize myself as to where I stood in relation to that. And I'm sure we relate in different shapes or form to this experience, that our first-person existence can be modified by things we do not consider enough. And why is that important? Life is non-linear. Our experiences are far richer, more deep, to have a start, middle, and end. Yes, it's easy to process it in this way and understand it. But we miss the terrain, the landscape that life provides, that there are struggles, that there are hardships. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. More importantly, it oversimplifies the complexities of life itself. And that is another point for us to reflect about. I think it's important for me to be clear as to what I'm not arguing for you today. I'm not suggesting that happiness is the ultimate goal. Happiness is a mental state like many others. Awe, love, wonder, sacrifice, tragedy. Yes, tragedy. There's beauty in tragedy and disappointment too. And there's no hierarchy between these stages. There's another point as well. So far as I'm concerned, a meaningful life and a happy life do not necessarily connote. There are many, many lives that are meaningful but are wrenched with angst. And there are many happy lives that do not carry that sense of meaning. So I'm not arguing for that either. The other point I'm not making, I'm not saying that goals do not matter. Goals define trajectories. They define a path of some striving for us to take shape or form. But it should not be the ultimate. The process itself with the goal is beautifully rich and beautifully worth thinking about. And the other thing I'm also not arguing is I'm not suggesting that destinations do not matter. The sense of direction you take in life determines many of your choices, the people you meet, the people you work with. So it is not that goals, destination does not matter, but it's really a matter of the summation of sustained efforts in that trajectory that comes to light. So then, I said all of this, so then what am I really arguing for? 3 fundamental questions I could derive, and I would like to have you reflect with me. We're going to go through them verbatim. Who are you? What you are pursuing, and why are you pursuing it? Who you are relates to your sense of identity. When you look into the mirror, what do you see? How do you relate to yourself? The second question, very important as well, what are you pursuing? What are the ingredients of your life? What are the substances to which your strivings consist about? And more importantly, why are you pursuing it? What is the inner sense of fire, the impetus behind this? So I want you to take some time right now to think about these 3 questions and how you relate to them. And I think it's really important as you take this time and reflect to see that these questions can be continuously present in the life that we live, and they do not have to be localized to an individual destination. It's very important to think about this. Now, I've talked about this, and I think I should propose some alternatives as to what are the other options that we have, and what exactly self-fulfillment is. It's a process of growth, of human development, of learning. It is attained not being directly aimed at, but rather as a byproduct of all the other purposes and strivings we pursue. It's also important to realize that self-fulfillment has a social element. The people that we care about, the people that we love, They provide us with a rich sense of meaning, and that's inextricably connected with how we relate to ourselves. And certainly, to pursue career aspirations over people that we love would certainly be one of the ways to diminish joy. It's also important to realize that self-fulfillment is a maximizing concept. It puts together the ultimate goal of human living itself, all these superlatives of desire and achievement, and it subsumes all other values of human life itself. And in this way, with self-fulfillment, we can find things that are fruitful, things that are worthwhile. And self-fulfillment itself relates to two other themes: aspiration fulfillment, which is achieving one's deepest goals and desires, and capacity fulfillment, the innate things that we can cultivate in a life. And it's important to consider these in the dimensions that are provided. Okay? So, we talked about the destination fallacy as a concept. We talked about how it impacts our life. We talked about how we relate to it. I want you to reconnect and reflect again those three questions: who you are, what you're pursuing, and why you're pursuing it. And I want you to think about this because it's really important to think about life in some shape or form. Today, I'm here to give you two takeaways. Life is an exhibition. Life is an offering. I've been trained in classical piano for more than 20 years. And similar with a TED Talk, with a performance, it gains meaning through the audience, through you, whether you're here or on YouTube. The message itself becomes amplified to how it shapes you, to how it changes you. There's another way of looking at life. Life as an offering. That the message itself is more important, that I'm only a vessel, that being here and being vulnerable with you is a gift. To give without expecting a get. And as we think about this, as we want to find a way to synthesize this, I wish to read to you this beautiful quotation. Discover your true essence. Uncover your inner truths. Embrace and love the soul breathing through your skin shell. Unveil the boundless universe within, yearning for exploration and revelation. Thank you very much.